Guys, what's going on? Welcome to Bad Publicity. Diving into the Marvel Universe once again. This time, something that's a little near and dear to my heart. I really am loving this Miss Marvel pack. So I guess if that's all you tuned in for, you can leave now. But
he loves it.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. But we're actually going to step through our impressions and our feelings with this pack. So I'm Jamieson, joined by Corey. As you can tell by these like little name tags that we have floating there, if you get confused. But thanks for joining us. So Corey, what's what was your impressions of this Miss Marvel pack here?
So she seems really neat, and she looks like she plays a lot different than the regular heroes that came in the core set. She's got a really different like flair and flavor to her. But she does seem like she has a bit of a skill gap or a little bit of curve in order to get to be efficient with her. So
well spoken.
Yeah, well, thanks. Because I am not efficient with her. My initial games with her have not gone very well, but I see her potential that players can unlock and make her really cool to play with.
100% exactly. This is not a beginner deck. This is probably one of the most difficult heroes I think that we've actually seen in release right now. I just think that this is, if I am playing this with somebody who it's their very first game, they might sit down and be like, oh, Miss Marvel, I love that hero. Let me play that. I'm going to be like, no.
Snatched out of their hands.
Right? And give them probably, here, play the Captain America out of the box build. Play one of the intro heroes from the core set. I mean, there's a reason why those are core set heroes, because they're versatile and because they're getting people into the game. Captain America, to me, again, was a great pack. It did a lot of Cap stuff, but the level and the learning curve is not what Miss Marvel is. Miss Marvel is very combo-y, is very understanding the flow of the deck. It's going to take you one or two turns with this deck to be able to play her efficiently. That's just my take on it. I will say the deck that comes with it, the intro out of the pack deck. What's the abbreviation for that?
With the
let me just say this is cool. We'll make our own abbreviation. Out of
your out of the box experience.
Yeah. So you're
was that an abbreviation? I don't think I abbreviated anything.
out of the pack, man. So your OOTP.
There you go. OOTP.
Yeah, your OOTP build with Miss Marvel. To me, it's not like the Captain America one at all. Cap was solid, and I wouldn't have to make any changes. So my deck list is included, and we'll talk about it at the end, how I kind of put the mindset around building for Miss Marvel right now. But I found her build, although usable and good, I needed to tweak it a little. So it's still playable, but it's not as OOTP as Captain Marvel was. do you have anything?
Its OOTP factor is not as high.
No, man. Its OOTP factor is not as high as Captain Marvel.
Or Captain America.
Captain America. Did you have any thoughts on?
You have all these Mrs. and Captains.
Yeah, a lot of Marvel. Do you have any thoughts on the OOTP factor?
No, because I didn't play her, and everyone I've seen that's played her hasn't played her straight. They've mixed in. So I think I have like one friend who did it with aggression, and then I played around with her in Justice. So,
so you never played it out of the?
I never played it right out of the pack, which, to be honest, might be a reason why I struggled a bit with it, because I probably should have, tried out the protection build that they gave her. But I think I was playing so much protection Captain America that I wanted to try a different like focus or whatever. So.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
I will say something very interesting. I'll show this, and you can comment in the comments below if this happened to you, because I have a ultra rare printing of Kamala Khan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. I don't know if you can see this. Is that showing up or no?
I don't see it.
Wait, hold on. Is it, if it's gonna focus? There it goes.
So
see
so
that?
What are people looking at?
See that mark right there? That's a defect, Fantasy Flight, and that came out of the pack. That's a print. Wow. That's a printing error right there, just like the original paper wall in Netrunner.
No, hold on to those.
Yeah, that's why.
Just bag it and board it.
So you got to keep it in heavy plastic. But that's a printing error. So I don't know if anybody else had any defects with their cards, but it's the first time I've ever seen a full out misprint on the art.
That's very funny.
So let's go through talk about Miss Marvel herself.
You want to start at the alter ego, or you want to go right to the hero?
Yeah, let's go alter ego first. I mean, that's where we.
Good.
That's
where you begin.
Yeah.
That's where you begin.
It's a good place. Nothing stands out really in terms of stats about health and hand size. Pretty standard right now. We're doing a 10-6. 5 recovery is nice, though.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's actually a pretty good jump. So she recovers really quickly.
And
it's that youthful energy.
I find that is very, very essential. And what I think you need to do is keep that in mind when you're doing your builds for her. What you don't need to keep a lot of it's like defensive abilities inside of her, because she's able to have that high recovery. So make sure you're keeping that in mind, and save some deck slots for some other cool stuff. Discard cards from the top of your deck until you discard a Miss Marvel card. Then add that card to your hand. Limit once per round. Thoughts on this?
I mean, I guess when you go to her side at the, I don't know how often, if you fire this off like at the beginning of the game, or if it's something that's good when you flip to recovery and then you fire it to put one of her special actions and stuff into your hand. It seems good to let you get something, but I feel like the trade-off is you do run the risk of like hitting that glut of just non-Miss Marvel cards and then milling a bunch of cards on the top of your deck, which then puts you in the position of reshuffling, which then means you're getting more treachery cards when you flip over. So I feel like you have to be careful when you time it. So, yeah.
Yeah, but so I will also say, too, is that Miss Marvel, her power comes all from her set of hero cards. So you want to see them. Again, if you see my deck, it's built around maximizing the hero cards and getting a lot of throwaway cards, so that way you're not too worried about burning them. Again, that's the reason why I feel this is not a beginner deck, because a beginner might look at this and say, I don't want to trigger this ability because I'm worried. Yeah. I'm worried about burning through my deck so much. I'm worried about the state of the board that's going to come. But card draw however you can get it in a card game is super valuable, right? I mean,
card draw in a card game.
Well, I mean, I mean, there's some games maybe you don't want to draw cards, but in most of these LCGs from Fantasy Flight, however you can build card draw into it, is just maximizing your turn, especially in this, right, where your cards are the resource that you're paying for other cards, right? So having that other choices. So even going through burning some cards off for a Miss Marvel card to be able to have an additional resource, to be able to have set up a different combo play. So it's not like I'm making a hard choice between the cards in my hand. Which one do I use as a resource? What can I save one? I'm one resource short. Let me just pop, and then grab another card. So I think it's going to be underrated, and you can't be afraid to use it.
Never scared. Yeah, and I guess if you do fire it off at the beginning of the game, you could look at it almost as if she begins with a hand size of 7. Because she's going to fire this ability right before she flips, add another one of her specific cards to her hand.
For sure. I mean, and Bob in chat says that he's saying it's such a great ability. It guarantees a signature card, right? So it may be that you're able to dig for that big hands or the sneak buy to be able to trigger that, because it is the signature cards. Bob, I'll steal your terminology. It is the signature card that combos on the hero side. So such a good thing. With that, let's transition in to talk about her hero power. On the flip side, we go from an amazing stat of 5 recovery to just horrible stats.
111. Triple ones.
Yeah.
You love to see it.
Oh, God.
And then she goes down to a hand size of 5. She loses one hand size.
Pretty standard. Which is interesting because thematically you would think that you get the big hands.
So she can hold more cards.
Yeah, right? I mean, I have to tell Boggs that's a thematic misplay there.
But they're always as fists, though.
Yeah,
so
I guess, yeah. I don't know.
Those big hands are made for punching, not for holding cards.
Response: after you play an attack, thwart, or defense event, exhaust, return that event to your hand. So this is you want to be using. So even though it says attack, thwart, or defense event, her bread and butter is the Miss Marvel signature cards. You want to be comboing and ripping off 2 big hands a turn, doing that damage. You want to be comboing that in if you got like proper board set up with Embiggen on the table. Just being that damage dealer, bringing the heat with her.
And this is where it kind of bounces out her garbage stats, because she shouldn't really be thwarting or attacking off of her stat line. She should be exhausting to keep putting the card that you are playing back in her hand over and over again. So that's why she doesn't need good stats. And it also seems like at first look, like her ability cards, because you mentioned that's what you should be looking for to play off of this. Her stuff seems to be costed like really well for the effect that it has. Like as far as the damage off a big hand, sneak by, as far as how much threat it takes off. They're all very value driven cards, and to be able to do them over and over again is really powerful.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. The 1/1/1 is making your decision to not attack, thwart, or defend with her very, very easy. You do not want to be exhausting her to use any of these kind of abilities, unless you're in like a super, super pinch.
Yeah, it's like the worst when you leave a scheme at 1 and you're like, well, I guess I could thwart to get rid of this scheme and not do anything with these cards. Cool. Yeah. So.
Right. So it's and this is what makes her very tricky. It's that setting up for those big plays, where I'm saying this is not a beginner style of deck because of the whole cycle, and then you're using her allies, for a little bit of setup, getting that big pop, and then pulling off these combos. We haven't seen kind of combo-y stuff like this from any of the other builds. I mean, there's the combos in different ways, like with the Black Panther style of combos where you're triggering all the Wakanda Forevers and making decisions that way. But this is very, very thinky, where your action, tap, bring up. You're really trying to stretch your turn to the max with as much as you can. Right, so
that's very thematic with Miss Marvel. Stretching the turn. Okay, all right.
Boom, boom. So I think they really did a cool job. And then because you're not really building in that defense, that's the reason that maximize your 5 recovery on the other side. She has a lot of flipping kind of going on if you can to go search for what you need. A lot of heroes. Or a lot of cards in here are alter ego actions. So
yeah, that's a big thing. She has a lot of she seems to have more persona cards than I've seen other characters have, or just more of those like little like alter ego action allies, which is something that stands out about her character. She has a lot of things she can do when she flips over.
Yep. So let's get into some of these cards that going through here. She comes with talking about her hero cards. I don't see her as heavy in the ally play style here. The way that, and maybe that's just my thoughts right now. I'm still gonna burn out a good chunk of games with her, but I'm not ally focused with her at all. Playing multiplayer, I'd like someone else to kind of maybe put out those allies and stuff like that. Or I know some people use allies as damage soak and stuff like that, but I can't spend my time, my resources breaking up my combo. I want to go in with big hands. I want to go in with
is it a sneak buy?
Yeah, right. The sneak buy. I want to be able to maximize my resources and my plays to get all of that stuff done. And the heroes or the allies here are just too expensive for me. But Red Dagger is cool, but I'm just not using him probably to his fullest extent right now because I'm just focused on the core, boiling Miss Marvel down to what she is with those combos.
So to you, Red Dagger is an energy resource. He's a really cool ally though. Like if you do end up with a turn where you're able to play him, I do love how you just get maximum value out of him because he can usually swing or thwart, and then when he goes away, he goes back to your hand, so you could spend him for something else or replay him, and then you get that like going away damage to the enemy. So even if he's like one of the only allies in your deck, he's a really strong ally card in my opinion.
He is, but I'm really hoping that somehow down the road, some better support cards come and flush it out, because to get full value out of this guy, he's really a resource and card sink from my perspective. You're putting him in for 3, and then you're spending 2 resources of different types to be able to pull him back. And again, if you're not set for that in that particular time, you're trying to build your combo. I got to stress it. Trying to set up for your big hands to drop that large amount of damage. That's a lot of 2 resources out of your hand size. If you're in hero mode, can really shrink you down, right? So.
Yeah, and those actions aren't cheap on her end too, because I think her special actions are 2 cost. So it does take like a good portion of your turn to play through it, unless you get like one of the double up cards and stuff to be able to play, like strength or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I can see your opinion and stuff on Red Dagger, and of course we know like Big Hands and Sneak By are kind of like her bread and butter cards as far as like what you're using to trigger everything off. And I think, does she get like 2 or 3 copies of each in the deck?
Yeah,
I know she gets like multiples of each one.
Yeah, so I mean he is a good resource for dealing a lot of strike damage to him for the value over time, but it's just factoring him into that play set. I think there's hopefully you can do a little bit of setup and just have cards that lower his initial value, or you have cards that can generate resources for you that you don't need to play your cards from hand. So if you can build your tableau, build your board state for something like this, he's really good. How I have dealt with him as well is he is automatically included in my deck, but that doesn't mean other heroes can't call him out of my discard pile or not. So
that's clever. That's actually pretty good if you play the leadership.
Yeah, right.
Play against someone with leadership.
So I've because it's the the flavor of the month. Playing Marvel with Captain America leadership and stuff like that. I have we did a lot of plays where Cap was calling him from me into play for them, and then being able to play cards and triggering discounts accordingly. So just because he's in your deck doesn't mean he can't be used, and doesn't mean he's not a good hero, but he's not a card that I'm building around, especially being a one of. I'm not hoping to see him.
Gotcha. Cool. And I guess moving along, and so I mentioned earlier that she has these 3 support persona characters. Do you want to touch on kind of like those, and which one you think is like the strongest, or like your primary one you should grab between those 3?
Yeah. You talk about the intro to them. Pick one to start with.
So we've got Amir, and I apologize if I don't get the pronunciation on the names correct. I'll do my best. But it's Amir Khan. 1 cost support, alter ego action. You can exhaust him to place a card from your discard pile on the bottom of your deck, then draw a card. Then you have Bruno Corelli, whose alter ego, you exhaust him to attach 1 card from your hand face down underneath him. And then as an action, you can exhaust him and add up to 3 cards attached to him to your hand. And then finally you have Nakia, Bahadur. Oh, geez, I'm so sorry. Alter ego action, exhaust Nakia and reduce the cost of the next card you play this phase by 1. So all of them seem to be, their support, they seem to be very good like utility, but it seems like they kind of have different phases of play that they tend to buff and strengthen you. Of course, like the cost reduction one seems really good, but it's important to note that it is an alter ego action, so she doesn't give you the cost reduction when you're in hero mode. So yeah, so as you've been playing, which ones have you felt have been like amazing every single time you get them?
So from my opinion is a little bit about these heroes or these support cards. They are all really, really costed perfectly. Again, this plays to the theme of my style of deck build, where in Miss Marvel, cheap cards, right? They all cost 1 to get out. So I think it's incredibly perfect. The one that I hope to see early is Amir. I want to, because my play style of I'm triggering the Kamala Khan ability, I'm cycling, right? So if I can get Amir out and I exhaust him to place 1 card from my discard pile on the bottom of my deck, hopefully I'm able to get most of my hero cards back in there, and then once I get to a certain point, I know that, I'm going to use her ability, I'm guaranteed to draw up one of my hopefully, obviously, big hands, because that's what I really, really want to see that one. I'm a very offensive play build with this. You skipped out on me there, so I don't know what you said. You're probably cutting me down.
Oh, sorry.
And your internet didn't like it. But so I want to, because of the speed and the pace that I go through my deck, I want to be kind of feeding cards back into it. I think he's the value that I want to see the most. Second, I like the Bruno. Because what you're doing is then building up for that big hand action, that splurge of a turn. Again, it's tricky, not a beginner thing to kind of plan this out. Alter ego action only to attach a card face down. Right.
But picking them up is anybody's action.
Yes.
Interesting. Right. Interesting to catch.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. So to add up to 3 cards into your hand, you can do that in any phase that you want. Then
I feel like that catches so many people. Probably like when you're first playing the deck, you don't realize like which side you're stuck on doing the action, or you do it at the wrong time. So it's a good thing to point out and to catch is that most of these actions are an alter ego, but his second one you can be on either side.
Yep. Yeah. And then obviously to build this tableau out and stuff like that, if you can get Nakia out on the board, she's basically paying for herself as she, after one. So depends on what you see. I like I said, I like, because these are only single copies, right? Because I'm not able to play a card that's like, go find a support card from your deck. I go through my deck very vigorously. I'd like to see Amar first. I like to get set up. I don't like to waste some of those special cards. I like to see Bruno and then the Kia. But if they come in any order, I'm pretty much for one resource able to get them on the board very quickly and without too much disruption of a turn. I'm not time syncing or turn syncing a lot to get these players down. So
cool. I would love to hear like if anyone in chat's played Miss Marvel, like which one's their favorite and which one do they dislike seeing, or which one they think is the weakest, just to get some opinions and stuff on it. But they all seem cool. They all seem like they have their own window. I do kind of lean on the same side as you, that between the 3, I think Nakia feels like the weakest, because a lot of these are so cheap anyway, but they all seem good. Yeah, none of them seem bad.
All right, so
cool.
I mean,
looks like she's got 3 more cards specific to pop out, so they're pretty much all her like upgrades. So you've got her suit, and then the Embiggen and Shrink. And I know Embiggen and Shrink are like her powerhouse cards, right? Those are like her big ones you definitely want to see to really start powering up your engine to start hitting super hard, or like thwarting like really heavy off of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're basically the counter play of each other. They both cost 2, and one is for a thwart action, it increases that amount by 2. The other is triggers off an attack action. Now remember, they just kind of increase it by 2. You tap it off your go-to. You want to try and get them down as quickly as possible. Being a cost of 2, again, if you can get the right amount of resource reduction cards in play in your tableau, if you can be in alter ego with Nakia down, you're saving your time and your cards, right? So
yeah, definitely. And then of course her suit, just as the hero resource, this produces you a wild resource for playing an event, which seems to fall like right into her game plan, right? Because she wants to play an event every turn if possible. So getting that wild to get your triggers and everything seems solid.
Yes. This.
Yes.
Right. Again, this is only a single cost upgrade. right? So we're talking about cheap board state setup with the ability to still do actions in your turn. You're not sinking things away. So good. And then, like you said, this is your free resource generation that I'm talking about to set up other cards and or set up those combo starters is where you want to be, right? So
cool,
very key. Then obviously the bread and butter, or actually go to Wiggle Room first.
Sure.
Thank you. Wiggle Room, 0 cost event, awesome. Plays, again, that same play style, very cheap. This one's free. Hero interrupt, and with her defense being the one stat that we saw, with her defense being the one stat we saw, and you not wanting to use her exhaust to defend, this is great. This is a great fit. Prevent 3 damage and get a card draw for 0 cost. Amazing.
Wow. Yeah,
amazing.
That's really good. Yeah.
Amazing. So yeah, there's nothing really else to say about there. I mean, this is you're never afraid to not have this card in hand.
Yeah. So that's a pretty powerful suite of abilities and stuff like that. So she's got some really good cards. So obviously you're a very big fan. You've been really enjoying the deck.
I mean, then you look at obviously the bread and butter is the last two. Is the
big hands and sneak by.
Yep, three of each, right? So you're dealing the 4 damage or removing 3 threat from a scheme.
That's like a really good rate. Like two costs for 4 damage and then 2 costs for 3 threat is really good just to have as stock cards in a hero deck.
Right, and then obviously you want to have those other cards built out in your tableau where you're getting the bonus from it, right? So essentially,
6 damage, potentially 5 threat. Yeah.
Well, and then to actually exhaust her, bring this back, is what you're looking at is 8 damage turns, hopefully. So then, with, like I said, with the right cycle and the right cards, you can do these very cheaply, and just come in and these could be the essentially finishing blows. If you're looking at thwart, if you get set up for that, you're basically can remove if a maximum with the combo of 8, right? Like,
jeez. That's pretty good.
Two sneak buys plus a bonus. I really like it, but it's timing that all out and getting that into the
because you got to get these to your hand. You've got to get your hand kind of set up, and you really want to have a few, like a cost reducer or something out to be able to afford and pay for it. So there is a little bit of setup, but it seems like she's got some engines and things built to help you kind of get to that state.
Yeah, right. Like you can, if you want to, you can store them on Bruno, right, to get ready. If your hand's getting too jammed up with them, throw one down and save it, right? So, doesn't cost you anything to pick it up off him, so it's good at that time. So that's her hero suite, right? So I really like it, man. It's it's a solid playthrough.
That's awesome. And you posted your deck in the discussion, and everything of what you've been running.
Yeah,
cool.
So yeah, talk about the other cards that come in her pack, right?
Immediately, since I'm coming from the land of Captain America, a big one that jumps out to me immediately is Preemptive Strike. So she gets a lot of protection cards in her pack. That's pretty much what all the additionals are. It's minus like a couple, but most of them are protection based cards. But Preemptive Strike is freaking awesome. So it's just like a 1-cost hero interrupt that when a villain flips over the boost icons, you cancel the boost icons and then deal it as damage to the villain. So when you're playing certain sets like the MODOK module, or even playing some of the Green Goblins, they have like some 3s that hit really hard. getting these preemptive strikes and stuff is just really cool to be able to prevent damage and then throw it back on the opponent. So that's one that I'm a big fan of.
Oh yeah, the whole the ability to counter this kind of stuff is amazing. Yeah. Again, it's really cool because it is if you think about the timing, right? When a boost card is turned face up when it attacks, then you can cancel all the boost icons. So I mean, if you turn the card up, I don't have to declare that I'm going to play this first. Right. I'm oh my god, I just got 3 boost off that. Well, guess what? Preemptive strike, cancel those. Now I'm inflicting 1 damage for each of those 2
for each icon.
Yeah, to the villain. So I can choose, right? Maybe 1 boost comes up, I'm like, oh, I can take that, right?
Yeah. There are sometimes where you're playing against the villains and you have this card in your hand and you're so ready to play it and they keep flipping like 1 boost and you're just kind of like, come on, stop. I'm right here. Punch me as hard as you can.
Yeah, I want to maximize this. But
full value.
Again, I feel that this is a staple in her, especially right now. Because of the fact, again, low defense, you're going to be taking it. So you want to cut that attack down, and this is the best way to do it. Especially if you, are starting to play on expert mode, and there's cards that are giving the villain extra boosts. If you get 2 boosts off an attack sometimes, and you're just like, oh my god, what if those are what if there's 6 boosts right there? At least with preemptive, you're at least maybe neutralizing one of those boosts, right? So, So I just really, really like it. 1 cost, so again, very cheap, saving your action turns. Just the synergy with her in this build is so good. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I feel that protection is sitting well with her.
No, she seems really set up for it. Yeah. So I've heard a lot of discussion about like protection and aggression being 2 like really good builds for her. And I think this is for being able to recoup cards. It's pretty much just 2 different sides of the spectrum, right? Do you want the more defense or do you want all that aggression? And it seems like she could do both of them fairly well. So bouncing some of the other cards. So out of protection, you also get Nova, which is a really cool ally card. He's really expensive though, and that's kind of like my like big concern is 4 cost allies. And they do something like super impactful, and you always immediately think like Nick Fury when you think of a 4 cost ally. And he comes down with kind of so-so stats. He's like a 1/2, but he does have a cool interrupt where you can spend an energy resource to deal 2 damage to the enemy, but that can be very taxing, and it feels like that in like a Miss Marvel build, you really don't want to be burning your resources to pay for Nova and to be triggering Nova over and over again. But there's probably some other decks where he would probably be a cool card to play around with.
Yeah, I think later on, he's going to be... This is a hero that you're going to want to keep your eye on or keep it at the front of your card box for when we see a full suite of variety come out for the game, where you can build, say, all of, like, maybe a whole entire just an energy deck, right?
Yeah, and really streamline it.
There's a lot of cards that kind of are triggering around energy, and if you can put them all together, like maybe you put them in Captain Marvel, right? Like where she's got a lot of energy going on already. But I mean, 4 cost. This spoiler alert as we talk about my deck. This was one of the first cards that I was like, cut, gone, right?
Yeah,
like
out of here.
Yeah. I needed I need those resources for other things, and for me to drop 4 is a very heavy resource turn sink for me on this right now. Again, I rely on multiplayer where my other play members of the group are more ally built to be able to step in, take some of the heat, get some defensive blocks for me. So cool. Just Nova, maybe you're a cool hero, but
not quite there yet.
Sorry, Sam. Yeah.
And then just two other like quick kind of like utility protection cards. So you have tackle, which is an attack they can deal that stuns, and if you play with a strength resource, it deals 3 damage. Then you have energy barrier, which is like a cool little upgrade that allows you to reflect. So when you take damage, you can exhaust it. Actually, you don't even exhaust it. You just spend a reflection counter and bounce that damage back to an enemy. And the cool thing is, since it doesn't exhaust, you can actually burn up all the counters, and it doesn't have to be the enemy that attacks you or causes the damage, because the wording is an enemy. So if like the villain attacks you, you can bounce the damage and kill one of the minions, you know, to kind of like slow down the onslaught of damage and stuff you're taking, and that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Other neat thing that I've discovered about energy barrier is it's a tech, which means if you have someone playing Iron Man, they can Stark Tower your energy barriers back for you. Cool guys.
Boom.
So
yeah, take that tip to the bank right there.
There you go.
Jeez.
Cash it in.
Yeah. What? Cash me outside?
Yeah.
So, you know, talking about Tackle, Tackle's an interesting card that
it feels really expensive for what it does.
Listen, if you are not paying for this card using a strength resource or a Rage Against the Machine resource, this card is overly priced for what you're doing just to stun. Like, hey, sometimes a stun's gonna save you, right? So don't get me wrong, but if I'm paying 3 resource out of Miss Marvel to just stun, man, that's a lot. That's a hard pass, brother. that's a hard pass.
Yeah. And so those are all the protections, and she's then the pack mostly for her is set up with some really sweet neutrals. Favorites being endurance, which is a really cool one, which is for 1 cost gives you +3 hit points.
Amazing.
And it's super good. Enhanced reflexes is one of those like resource generators you can just pull off to produce energy resources.
Yeah, that one just honestly leave it for now until you're building energy resource decks. I feel like, you know.
Yeah, that card really goes into Captain Marvel more so than Miss Marvel.
Yeah, shelve enhanced reflexes.
Yeah, and then you've got the biggest head scratcher card of them all for me, which is Lockjaw. Which I'm not a fan of. But that's just me. I just don't like this card, and I would cut it every single time if I get the chance.
I cut it right away as well. I know that in looking at it from a bubble, I'll tell you that I'll break this card down for some of the reasons why. Again, right now in Miss Marvel, 4 resources are really hard for me to play in my build. Okay?
Yeah.
In my build, 4 resources, I can't. And again, I'm not an ally kind of guy at the moment, right? You may play Lockjaw from your discard pile during your turn, paying his resource cost. I'm getting no value from that ability, or no discount, which is hard. So I'm essentially putting him out for full cost. He's going to my discard pile. I can bring him back, but it's like now I'm spending more resources. I'm like, I can't fit him into this Miss Marvel build. I get the idea behind it, because if he's a card that's milled, or if you use him to pay for something, you can just bring him back or still play him. But his price feels so prohibitive, and the fact that he does 2 damage to himself when he swings doing anything. There you go. Right. He's got 4 damage, and if you're gonna use him for an attack or a thwart action, you can see the two stars that are under those. So that means he does 2 damage to himself to do one of those actions. So to pay 4 resources, and he's going to get basically stay out from maybe, you know, if you use him for an attack and if he takes a defense, it's hard. But I do like the fact that you can play him from your discard pile. Right now, that's kind of his only trait that he's got going for him from my perspective.
Yeah. And maybe if down the line they come up with some really good like ally reducers or something that like maybe some trick protection can use, but it just seems so expensive for what you get out of that card.
It is. Again, I think it's going to be one to keep your eye on down the road, or to see him in more of an ally style build. The way that I am using my build right now is 4 resources to be constantly trying to pull him in and out is not working. Like, honestly, I'm really trying to play an efficient setup build where my team is counting on me to get those big hand combos, to get those sneak by combos. And if I am not setting myself up to be able to big hands, tap, pull back, stuff, then I'm just not getting my turn out of it, right? Like,
and that's something I will say is I do feel like if you're not having those type of rounds, Miss Marvel feels kind of like she's not doing, like she's just spinning her wheels, and you need to be able to have those power turns to really feel like you're contributing to the scenario and what's going on. And so having those like when you take those turns off, it's real impactful.
Yeah. And that's it. And again, so with Lockjaw, what you're going to get out of him is the ability to use him as a resource, and then still be able to play him later from your discard pile. So I do like that mechanic and that feature. I just don't think that he's ready for that play for me yet. You guys might honestly, if you have builds that work, I'd love to see links to decks and stuff like that in our comment section for me to go through and play. Because he's just again my play style, right? I want to just reiterate that stuff. This is
that's very important. This is not like you're playing it wrong if you're using Lockjaw. No. We're not saying that at all. Everyone has a preference what they like to play, and that's the cool thing about this game. So if there's something that you really enjoy and do it, like, awesome, have a good time with it.
And I will say that from that fact that I am not playing this game a majority of my time in solo builds. Right, so my decks are complementing what I know my other my friends are going to build. We don't come to the table blind or just open a deck. Oh, what did you bring today? Oh, you have you're using protection. I'm using protection. Oh crap, everyone's protection. Right, so I know that like we'll be in chat and someone will be like, oh, I'm bringing a leadership Panther, and I'm like, okay, well I'm bringing my protection Marvel. So we can find that synergy because we're playing on an expert level. And once you start to play at these harder difficulties, I'm telling you, like, you want to be maximizing your turns. I
100% agree. It's really hard on expert just to have like a pickup group, just to pick up a bunch of random people with the decks and just see what happens. It's a much easier experience when you're able to work together.
Just shout out to Bob in the chat here, who does say that like he loves the fact that Lockjaw is a beefy 4 strength hero. So he's essentially a good meat shield. If you throw him down there, so he can't soak it up. And hey, you know what? Maybe from that perspective, maybe that's where he excels, right? Just give him
you just don't do anything with him. You just bring him out as a defense shield. So he's pretty much just like 4 hit points that just soak something.
Yeah, so great points on that one there. I think that that's probably a viable play with him. Like, just Corey, you hit it, just don't attack with him. Just soak it up.
Yeah. Just have him be there to be a defense Muppet. So cool. So that pretty much covers all the stuff that's kind of in her deck. Do we want to talk about the Nemesis?
No, go to the other cards that were included in the
okay, we'll jump over to the extras that are also in the pack. So the other ones we've got, so you got 4 other cards that weren't technically in her deck, but are add-ons that you can play with other heroes. You have Melee, which is for aggression, which is 3 cost, deal 3 damage to an enemy, and then deal 3 damage to another enemy. So it lets you kind of spread out damage for 3.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
it's pretty good.
I mean,
what's very interesting about that is it's a science symbol.
Mm.
So be careful with your Hulks, I guess. So that's interesting.
The Hulk builds.
Yeah. Then in Justice, you got concussive blow.
You won't have to be careful pretty soon, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. We're gonna see.
Rumors. We'll
right,
see.
Yeah.
So concussive blow is a hero action. Confuse an enemy, and then if you paid for this card using a strength resource, you deal 3 damage to the enemy. So it's kind of like the Justice version of tackle. This is instead of stunning, you're confusing.
Yeah. Hey, might as well have variety, right?
Right. So you get the same type of card, just in a different flavor. Then for leadership, you get morale boost, 1 cost hero. Choose the hero until the end of the round. The hero gets +1 thwart, +1 attack, and +1 defense.
Yeah.
So it just allows you to buff someone.
Buff it up.
Where this card could be cool is on things like when you get like Iron Man with his ability to kind of untap himself, so you can get 2 activations out of it. Or you get like She-Hulk, who has her aggression upgrade, where she can take a damage and ready herself. Those things are useful off of this. If you can kind of play with heroes that can get like double effect, then it seems good and worthwhile. But let's talk about really the sweet card.
Stand out.
The neutral card, downtime.
Stand out.
Each player can have 1 max per player, and your alter ego gets +2 recovery.
Yes.
This card initially, when I first looked at it, I was kind of like, oh, that's neat. And then I had someone play it on me, and then I loved it. And from there, this has pretty much been like a one of include at least in like every deck I build is to have a copy of downtime. It's just so good.
Because it is max 1 per player. So stepping through that from just a quick rules perspective, that does not mean 1 per deck.
Correct.
Okay, that means that you can only have 1 of these attached to the player that you're on. So I can play this on myself. If I have another copy, I can play it on Corey's hero. If I have another copy, I can play it on a different hero. This is such an amazing card. A 1 cost upgrade that boosts the recovery. I can't tell you how awesome this is inside Miss Marvel. Putting her up to 7 recovery is
fully heals in 1 action.
Oh my gosh, man! I'm telling you that it's just that good because it fits into the playstyle of the deck that I built. I'm not afraid to take the hit because I'm not defending. I'm not using her ability for defense, so I have to flip back. I'm recovering for 7. Guess what? I'm back in it, man.
Yeah, it's just so good. And it's good for a lot of heroes because usually you do the recovery and it kind of gets you back in the fight. Yeah. But sometimes it gets you back in the fight until you're hit again. And then you're like, okay, now I'm back over to hero recovering again and stuff like that. And downtime feels to always give you just that little bit extra to kind of give you another turn in hero mode. It's just really, it's just such a good card. And again, sometimes you may look at it and it's easy to look at and kind of undervalue, but in practice, the benefit this gives you just feels so good.
Now,
it's so good for the board state.
I don't know if we, do I have something good around here? What's this? Just pretend that this. So I would like to honorarily give downtime. Listen, this is the bad publicity art of the pack award right here, right?
Yeah.
Presenting to downtime. That card art was fun. When I saw it, I'm like
cracking up.
I'm like Daredevil, Luke Cage, just chilling there having
his sweet Spider-Man lunchbox.
Oh, dude, I was just gonna say that as well, right? They're just having lunch, and then even dude, this is the bad publicity flavor text of the pack award. We should do this. We should do this more often. I just love
award it.
Oh man, that's
we need to get a seal that just generates and shows up on screen and just animates just obnoxiously across the screen.
How do we do that? But I mean like art and flavor text. They're just chilling there. We should do this more often. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, and I think back to just maybe it's the sentimental value is when I was watching the Daredevil and Nick Cage the Netflix shows. I was just like, oh yeah, it's just good times, man.
It's really funny. That's also kind of how I discovered the card, because initially I didn't play with it, and then someone played it on me, and I was just like, you know what? We should do this more often.
Yeah,
it should go on my decks from now on.
More.
It's great. So anyway, try it out. It's probably one of the star cards in the pack.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So then all that's left is just the obligation and the nemesis details on Miss Marvel. I don't know if you really want to go in, because some people don't kind of like the spoilers and stuff of those effects. They tend to kind of like to have them happen. So if you're kind of like sensitive to spoiler-y type stuff, these are cards that are normally covered up on Marvel DB. So, listen at your own peril, I guess. You've been warned.
You've been warned. So, looking at the obligation. Okay. What's your thoughts on this obligation?
So initially, like, if you have a persona and you have to burn a persona support, that doesn't feel terrible, because those personas are so cheap. Unless you have a Bruno who's sitting on a bunch of cards, then that sucks. That's terrible.
Listen, if you have that happen, right, you just exhaust Kamala.
Right. Get this out of the game.
Right.
Yeah. But if you have the other two, you could probably stand to be hit by it. But where it really sucks is if you don't have a persona, then it surges, and I always hate cards that surge. I just hate surge. But yeah, like, it's kind of so-so. It's very, like, dependent on the board state. There are some moments where you could probably safely get hit by it and lose something that you've kind of already used its value, or it didn't hit you that hard. And then, yeah, there's moments like where we mentioned where it just can just wreck you super hard.
So you are 100 and
like 2%.
Yeah, you're 102% correct. If you're one of those people that give more than 100. If you have the Nakia card in play, and you kind of done everything you can do, right? Reduce then maybe you can afford to burn her off. She's not so bad. Depending on where you are in a state of go, you definitely don't want Bruno with cards on, and Amir again.
Because where it could really hurt you.
Game state, man. Game state.
Yeah.
Right?
Because being exhausted with Miss Marvel can be rough, because it turns off her ability. So not only is it denying you the ability, of course, like to swing, to do anything with her, but it turns off her ability to recover events. And so if you do have times where you can kind of take a little bit of punishment to kind of keep her turned on, it's definitely something to consider and think about.
For sure. So, I mean, the best part about, obviously if you could just exhaust her and get this card out of the game, okay, that's fine. But if you need to discard a persona at certain times and certain situations, discarding a card that you played one cost to put into play and maybe you've got value out of it is not the end of the world. This is not a devastating obligation, I think, by any means. Obviously,
agreed.
Obviously, it can be detrimental at certain times.
But it's definitely not the worst. It's not the worst obligation we've seen compared to other heroes.
No.
So, and then if we go into her nemesis, which is old Thomas Edison, he's just obnoxious. I mean, that's really it. Like, his biggest thing is he can't take damage while you're engaged with another minion, and he schemes. So you do have to be careful. Like, he doesn't have a lot of hit points, so as long as he's the only thing engaged with you, or you can clear the villains or the other minions, but you have to remove him, because adding 3 threat to a scheme each turn can end the game really fast for you.
Yep, he's definitely just a form of accelerating the game clock.
Yeah.
Right. Just stopping you. So I mean, obviously, if he comes out, you most of the time depends on the board state, depends on how much is left on your hero, depends on the villain, where things are. You might, most of the time, I feel like my play group is going to help the other person out, try and get their nemesis out as quickly as possible. But at the end, no biggie, no harm, no foul, right?
What's the rough part on her side is the side scheme, Generation Y. When it's revealed, it mills every player's deck for every ally and persona support they have. So this could cause an interesting trigger where it hits everyone at the wrong time, empties your decks, causes you to reshuffle, adding treachery cards. And, what bonus does this card do? It adds extra treachery cards. So if the timing of this comes up at just horribly, it can just dump a bunch of treachery cards into your pool going into the next villain phase. So this is the worst part of her nemesis showing up as the side scheme, not so much him.
Yeah, this is very hard, especially if you're somebody that did build a board state and all the personas are in play at the time, and
just a bunch of allies. You have that leadership player with their army of allies, right, and this shows up and just dumps their deck in the discard.
And the whole fact that this is entire, your entire play group is being affected by this. This is devastating. When it comes out, if you're, oh god,
yeah.
I'm telling you, dude, that we have been hit with this hard. It's like I can't even talk about it. It's leaving such a bad taste in my mouth right now.
Well, you mentioned your regular partner was playing leadership, so it's like, oh yeah, you're just setting yourself up for this card just to elbow drop you from the top rope when it shows up. Yeah. So
it's lucky that it's I find these side nemesises, they don't come out every game, so. You got that.
They don't show up all the time, but when they do, they typically always hurt. And then the other cards that she has in there is you have the giant robot, which just can't take damage. It's just a ton of health, but you can spend a science resource to turn off the can't take damage part. Otherwise, it's just persistent damage and threat that hits you every single turn. And then the harvest cards, which just heals the villain. For each support in play. It will exhaust all the persona supports in play and then heal the villain for every one that it exhausts.
Yeah. So I mean that's a pain, but I mean realistically, what your main threats are here, or I mean that no tie in there is the your main issues here is the Thomas Edison scheming. And the side scheme, pretty much milling your, all of
milling you out, and then adding the extra treachery card.
Yeah, or I mean, just discarding a large number of cards that maybe you're hoping are coming up, right? It's just no fun. There's certain scenarios too that I will say that the Thomas Edison's cannot take damage while you are engaged with another minion. That can be a little tricky if you're playing it in one of those ones where minions are being kind of waterfalled out against you, and you're already in a state of chaos on board control, right? So
so it's like Ultron and Green Goblin 2 and stuff like that are all very minion heavy, and so it can make it really hard to deal with Thomas Edison, and he'll just end the game fast. So, but that's it. That's the Miss Marvel pack.
Yeah,
we did it.
Pretty standard. So let me just recap some of the stuff. So you'll see that I've put a link to my deck in the description of this Miss Marvel Bad Publicity build. This is the deck that I've used to play Goblin on the expert mode. And have had good success with. I've also played him, again, multiplayer. I also played him or also played, some of the core sets on Expert. I believe the only one I haven't tried is hard versions of Ultron, just because when the core set was out, it's all we had. I kind of like really played out of Ultron. So we played Rhino and some Claw with some various sets that have come out with
Goblin,
inside of Goblin. So just to step through the mentality of this deck build is cheap. Like I can't stress that enough. I mean, I'm even probably in a couple builds. I'm probably gonna. I mean, I don't know if you. I tried to think about it. Like, can you play a protection build with no protection cards?
I mean, I think technically you can. You pick a thing, but you don't have to play with cards by them.
Yeah.
But trying to run that all neutral.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, preemptive strike is probably. I'll have three copies of it in play in my deck, but so you can see I've got the Miss Marvel cards and stuff like that. But what I'm adding in here is preemptive strike. Obviously, the defense being a 1-cost card, awesome. I have Get Behind Me. Because again, I'd like, there's certain situations where I'm trying to set myself up to have the high recovery. So maybe there's certain times when I can take on the stuff, and obviously to cancel the treacheries
it's real strong. It's always good to have that utility.
Yeah, and then tackle is kind of neither here nor there for me, but I think that it's okay. But if I was to take something out, probably tackle would be the first one to be removed. So where this deck kind of shines and where it sets up and plays, again, stressing multiplayer, is what I'm looking at is how can I have the ability to maximize a turn. There's cards in here that can be overly used. And what I mean by that is just heavy duplicates where you can only have one per max player and stuff like that. Avengers Mansion, because I want that card draw. I want to be able to see Avengers Mansion and get it into play. It's a 4-cost card. I've only got 2 copies of it there, but if I can get this early, I'm able to build up my hand size and again start to maximize my turns, being able to get those combos going. Maximizing stuff when you notice that a lot of the cards that I'm leaning towards are 1-cost resource cards, or 1-cost, not just resource, 1-cost resource costing cards. So if I can find one of my 3 helicarriers, pretty much getting a free play, and then I'm able to save the cards in my hand for the action that is intended on the card and not having to spend it as a resource. So I love the helicarrier. Now obviously both of those can also help out my teammates if I do not need my my free lower resource, or if I do not need my draw, I can pass that off to one of my players on the team, helping them out. First aid, just because sometimes you don't want to flip back, you just need just a quick
pick me up.
Yeah, a quick heal. Again, it's a 1-cost event. Maybe you can play it for free. Downtime, obviously we said amazing. I use 3 of them because I want to also help out my team. One cost to give her the 7 boost or boosting it up is great. Filling it out with the double resources, strength, energy, genius. I mean, I think those are pretty much staples all around. 1 card that's giving you 2 resources, obviously maximizing your hand size. The last one I have is 3 copies of Endurance. Again, I'm able to share this around. boosting up the amount of hits and damage that she can take is just great. I'm able to stay in hero mode a little longer near the end of the game, and then I can flip back and just get my with
your massive recovery with the downtime out and everything like that.
Yeah. This is so again. That's what I'm looking for. All of my focus is built on getting her combos. And there's there's a couple strength icons in there. So maybe you can just combo with what was it, tackle if you need to play it, but everything is all around cheap. Building my tableau, getting that draw, reducing resource, and just go.
No, I dig it. I'm a big fan of this, seeing how the deck does with just so many neutrals, like going very neutral heavy and just like a handful of the actual like specialization cards. It's pretty cool because it definitely seems to fall into the theme and everything you're trying to get out of the deck. So I'm definitely interested in putting it together myself and giving it a whirl.
Yeah, like I said, I really liked it from the fact that, again, I gotta say this, multiplayer. I don't think this deck's not gonna stand on its own two legs as a solo deck.
Yeah, I definitely see that. There's too many duplicates and things like that, and but it looks like a great multiplayer deck.
I'm able to, cheap healing on my buddies, Avengers, Mansion, Helicarrier. I'm helping out with endurance and downtime. I'm also providing that layer of boost to people that can help them out on their turn. And then when it's go time, it's just combos, right?
Yeah.
Big hands. How many times can I go that? And then because you look through that, I'm telling you, so this is where I'm not afraid to use the Kamala Khan ability, because my neutral cards and my protection cards are, I'm running multiple copies, so I'm able to just burn through those, man. Like they're not 100% necessities in my build, other than most of the time being paid as a resource or in a pinch. So I'm not afraid to go through and lose one of these non-hero cards to be able to find one of my key playmakers. So this deck, I'm telling you, don't be afraid to trigger her ability and just cycle like a madman. Just get through, because honestly, I should really try and keep track of how many big hands I like what's the record out there? Like again,
what's the record big hands?
Throw me some comments in the description below. Like, how many times have you in one single game been able to play big hands, or been able to be able to play a sneak by, right? Like, how much threat, how much damage have you done in a turn with Miss Marvel? Because this deck is so cheap that I just boom, right? And I mean, listen, the only downside is that sometimes, when you burn through your deck and you get that like encounter card, hey, it happens, but that's part of the game. That's part of her ability. If you're not using or building around your identity's abilities, you're missing out on part of the game, right? Like, you're missing out on the reason to play that hero.
Nice. It's big hands out there, crushing face, high-fiving everybody, having a good time.
I love it. I love it. And I said, like, we're playing, my group's playing on expert level, so all of these little cards are coming in handy, right? The ability for me to pop a quick heal on even someone's ally, right? Like my leadership guys, boom, hey, heal that guy up, because it's character, right? And the ability to boost everybody's with downtime and endurance is, hey, if you show up at a game store, bring this deck and drop a downtime on someone, drop an endurance on stuff, you got a friend, you got friends for life, man. That's just a make friends card right there at the game store.
It's like, hey, I like this guy. He brings down times for other people at the table. This is a good guy. This is a quality cat right here.
Yeah. And or maybe even put it on before you even boost your own character, and then.
Oh wow, man! Think of that.
Yeah, make it like it's your only card. I only put one copy of Downtime, and I'm giving it to you. But then when you draw your other two, they're gonna be like, "What the fuck?" But,
this guy.
What is this? Yeah. So I mean, go check out this deck. Look at that. I mean, I sent you the link, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, look at this build, right? In just built on one cost, right? Look at that card cost curve, right?
Yeah, it's like 18 cards that cost 1, and then 8 at 2. 4, yeah, and only 2 cards that cost 4.
Yeah, and those 2 are the
thing that I also
mentioned.
noted when you showed me this deck was really cool was actually is an even spread. You have no wilds technically aside from the armor, but you've got 15 strength, 15 science, and 13 energy. So it's a pretty good spread of all the symbols, which actually is pretty useful because there are certain villains that need you to spend symbol combinations to remove upgrades and stuff on them. And so having that, like, oh, look at this guy, big brain plays over here. Having the even spread of symbols is also like really useful in those type of games, because even if it's like trash neutral cards, you don't care throwing those out. Like if you already got stuff set up and you got your 1-0s in hand, cool, spin them to remove upgrades off villains, whatever. It's just, get them out of there.
It's when you look at the faction breakdown, that's just where it's so funny, right? It's like it's like protection cards, hero cards, neutral cards. I got more neutral cards in my deck than hero cards, man. But
it's cool though. It's a really cool build, and I'm definitely excited to kind of give it a whirl and try it out myself and report back next time.
Thanks, dude.
Minions.
Like I said, the day will come when I can get that all neutral build, right? So come on, Boggs, get me those. Give me some better neutrals.
Sweet. So that's Miss Marvel.
Yeah,
we did it. We did it, fam.
Corey, so any other thoughts on Game Stay right now? It's the stuff you're looking forward to. We've seen some new heroes coming out.
Yeah, they did FFG put their article up on Black Widow, which looks pretty neat. I kind of want to see more. She's got like some cool like gear and stuff, like grappling hook looks money, stuff like that. It's pretty cool. And then we have the Wrecking Crew right around the corner. So I think the week we do our next episode, that pack will be dropping at the end of that week. So
it's
fingers crossed.
I'm really excited. Again, to me, I'm excited for more of the villain packs that are coming than I am the heroes. Right now, my top hero, Miss Marvel. The one I am excited for after this is Thor.
Yeah. Oh, I know. He keeps talking about it, guys. He's hyped on Thor.
I needed my Thor's hammer somewhere.
But bring the hammer down.
Yeah. Then from that perspective, the other one, the Black Widow, to me, I don't know if she's gonna. If Thor wasn't coming out, I would probably be sticking with Marvel over Black Widow. I don't know if her set from what I've seen right now is enough to sway me off how much I'm loving this hero build. This ability to play high combo, a lot of stuff going on my turn. I just really love trying to maximize it out.
Awesome. But yeah, that's what's coming around the corner. So yeah,
perfect. Guys, let me just recap some of the stuff here. Jeremy is talking about don't sleep on Lockjaw. He's a perfect answer to an awkward hand when what you really need isn't in your hand. But he says he agrees. He's saying, yeah, maybe not in Miss Marvel, though.
That's true. Like, if I could also see maybe like in characters, maybe like something like Captain Marvel, who has like 3 drops, 3 resource cards, or find some way where you can get Lockjaw like super cheap, or like leadership with reducers might make it better to keep recurring them.
Yeah, and then it looks like Bob's mathing out the how many times you can play big hands. He's going.
I just imagine he's got like the dry erase board behind him, and he's like,
Dude,
mapping it all out.
Can't lay down.
So, yeah.
He's gonna try and set the record.
Good. I look forward to it. We're gonna come back with our numbers.
Well, hey, Corey, we're just me and Bob are putting the challenge on your shoulders here, man.
That's it. I'll let you know when I report back after putting this deck together, and I don't play Miss Marvel like trash.
Yeah. Well, so. I'm sure that you've.
Hopefully, I got some good tips from this episode, so I should be better equipped when I go into my next game.
There you go. What's your what would be your average player count? 3?
Most of our games have been 3.
3 or
most of our groups have been 3 players. So
yeah, 2 to 3. Not too shabby.
Yeah, not bad at all. It's been good.
Guys, thank you very much for joining us in Bad Publicity tonight. We're going to catch you next time. If you've hung out with us, the best way you can help us support is that if you're not a subscriber, throw a subscribe down. Turn on the notification. Give this a thumbs up. Like, it doesn't cost you anything to just click. So thumbs up. I mean, if you don't like what you've seen, the other button works. So hey, feel free to throw it there, but
don't do that. Don't do that. Let's be honest. I mean, if you made it this point of the video and then you thumbs down us, so. I mean, come on.
Who knows?
Come on.
Maybe you just didn't like how we ended it. They're like, these guys had no ending written. Bad scripting. Bad scripting. Hey, thanks a lot for hanging out with us tonight. Really appreciate it. We went a little longer than we usually try and do, but I was just so passionate about this deck build and this hero. Just had to pour it. I hope it showed my enthusiasm came out. Guys, we'll catch you in a bit, and next time we're probably talking Goblin for scenario.
Awesome. You guys have a good night.
Later, all. Thank you.